68 meters. That is longer than the wingspan of a Boeing 747. And right now, that 68-meter wind turbine blade is strapped to a specialized trailer crawling up a mountain road with hairpin turns designed for vehicles a third its length. The white blade stretches so far behind the truck that the rear axle operator cannot see the main cab anymore. He steers blind, following radio commands from the escort driver ahead. On the next switchback, the blade's tip must swing over a cliff edge to clear the turn. Below, a 300-meter drop into a forested valley. The rear axle operator grips his wheel. The escort driver leans out of his yellow pickup, red flag in hand, counting the gap between the blade tip and the guardrail in centimeters. There is no room for a second attempt. If the blade touches anything solid at this angle, 68 meters of carbon fiber composite worth $2 million snaps like a dry branch. Port Valtena, 7 in the morning. Overcast sky with patches of blue. The white blade lies on two orange transport cradles on the dock, its smooth aerodynamic surface catching the early light. It looks like a giant frozen wing, slightly curved, tapering from 3 meters wide at the root to a sharp point at the tip. The root end has a circular steel flange with 40 bolt holes. This is where it will connect to the turbine hub on the mountain. The transport trailer is built for exactly this job. A dark red cab at the front, a long extendable beam in the middle, and a hydraulic rear steering module with its own small operator cab at the back. Total length with the blade, 72 meters. The rear axle turns independently up to 60 degrees, letting the back end take a completely different line from the front through tight corners. A yellow port crane lifts the blade using a wide spreader bar and 4 nylon slings. The foreman walks beside the floating blade, guiding the crane by radio. It settles onto the trailer's 2 V-shaped rubber-padded support saddles. Workers strap it down with 6 ratchet straps and bolt the root flange to the trailer's headstock with steel bolts. The convoy forms behind the loaded trailer. A yellow escort pickup with flashing orange roof lights and a height pole takes the lead. Behind the trailer, a white escort van carries the survey crew, spare equipment, and a pair of chainsaws. The trailer driver checks his mirrors and releases the parking brake. The rear axle operator tests his hydraulic steering from his open cab at the back. They exchange a thumbs up over the radio. The route is 110 kilometers. The first 60 are flat coastal highway. The last 50 climb 27 switchback turns up the mountain to the wind farm plateau at 1,400 meters elevation. Estimated travel time, 11 hours. The convoy hits the highway at 8:15. The trailer rolls at 40 kilometers per hour on the straight coastal road. The white blade extends far behind the cab, its tip hovering 4 meters above the road surface, mounted at a slight upward angle on the rear saddle. Cars on the opposite lane slow down to stare. The escort pickup's orange lights flash steadily. At kilometer 62, the road leaves the coast and begins to climb. The asphalt narrows from 4 lanes to 2. Pine trees close in on both sides. The trailer driver downshifts. The engine growls as the grade steepens. Speed drops to 15, then 10 kilometers per hour. The first switchback arrives at kilometer 68. A sharp left on a 7% grade. The survey crew checks the turning radius with laser tools. The trailer must enter wide, swinging the cab to the far right before cutting left. The rear axle operator must countersteer at exactly the right moment. The trailer inches into the turn. The cab swings right, almost touching the rock face. Then the driver cranks left. The beam pivots. The rear operator turns hard right, pushing the blade's tail the opposite direction. The white tip sweeps over the outer edge, briefly hanging over empty space beyond the guardrail. Pine branches brush the underside. The foreman at the apex radios corrections. 3 centimeters from the guardrail post. The tip clears. They repeat this process 26 more times. Each turn is different. Tighter, wider, rock walls, drop-offs. The rear axle operator develops a rhythm with the main driver. Radio calls shorten. Left 30, right 45, hold, straight. A worker in the escort van monitors the ratchet straps through binoculars from 50 meters behind. Turn 22. 3:15 in the afternoon. the tightest switchback on the route, a 170-degree bend on a narrow shelf road carved into the mountainside. The survey crew measures the available space and goes quiet. The lead surveyor walks back to the trailer driver's cab. The turn is 4 meters too narrow. The blade tip will hit a cluster of pine trees on the outer edge. The foreman radios the escort van. Bring the chainsaws. 2 workers in orange vests jog up the road carrying chainsaws. They assess the trees. 3 mature pines, each 30 centimeters thick. The foreman marks them with orange spray paint. The chainsaws roar to life. Wood chips fly. The first pine crashes down the slope into the valley. Then the second. The third leans stubbornly. A worker ties a rope to the trunk, and the escort pickup pulls it clear. Sawdust covers the road. A worker sweeps the debris aside. The trailer moves into the cleared turn. This time the margin is tighter than any previous switchback. The cab pushes hard against the uphill rock wall. The driver's side mirror folds in with a scrape. The rear axle swings the blade tip over the freshly cut stumps, still oozing sap. The tip passes over the cliff edge. The rear axle operator holds his breath. He cannot see the drop, but he can feel the wind from the valley below rising through his open cab. The blade clears. The driver unfolds his mirror and checks it. Scratched, but working. The escort crew marks the turn as passed on the route chart. 5 switchbacks remain. Turn 25 brings the second problem. A section of the road shoulder has eroded after recent rains. Orange clay mud covers the outer lane. The trailer's rear axle rolls through it, and the tires lose traction on the slope. The back end of the trailer slides 20 centimeters toward the edge. The blade tip dips as the saddle tilts. The rear axle operator countersteers. The tires catch dry asphalt. The slide stops. The foreman rushes to the edge and looks down. Fresh tire marks end 30 centimeters from the drop. The last 2 turns are wide and forgiving. The convoy climbs above the tree line. The landscape opens. Brown grass, gray rock, and sky. The wind hits immediately. Steady 35 kilometers per hour across the exposed plateau. The white blade acts like a sail. The trailer driver feels the steering pull sideways. He keeps the speed at 5 kilometers per hour, fighting the crosswind with small corrections. At 5:40 in the afternoon, the convoy crests the final ridge. The wind farm spreads across the plateau ahead. 12 white turbine towers stand in a row, their blades turning slowly in the mountain wind. One tower near the center has only 2 blades mounted. The third socket is empty. That is where this blade goes. A yellow mobile crane waits beside the tower base, boom at full height. The crew detaches the straps and unbolts the root flange. The crane hooks onto the blade's lifting lugs and raises it from the trailer, rotating it vertical as it rises. 68 meters of curved composite, turning from horizontal to vertical against the gray sky. 2 technicians in harnesses wait on the nacelle platform at the tower top. They guide the root flange into the hub socket and thread the 40 bolts. The wind pushes the blade gently. They work steadily. By 6:30, the final bolt is torqued. The crane releases. The blade hangs free. The turbine controller sends the start signal from a white portable cabin at the tower base. The 3 blades begin to turn, slowly at first, then faster, catching the mountain wind. The trailer driver watches from his cab, engine off, window down. 11 hours, 27 switchbacks, 3 felled trees, 1 scraped mirror, and now, somewhere up there, his cargo is making electricity.